lecture because oftentimes I answer them in the lecture. So I have a flow. Any questions or even comments? Things that make sense, or Dr. Gill, that's BS. I don't buy that. Those are actually the best questions because then we can actually talk about some real stuff. Chances are, if you're thinking about it, lots of people are. So I see one. We'll start there. And, I was recording the whole time. There we go. Please, go ahead.
Dr. Gill, you actually answered my question. I came here today with a question, and you answered it perfectly for me. And it's in regards to the coaching idea. Currently, I'm in the situation where I'm dealing with family members, and they're amygdala thinking, no question. And I was wondering how I could, well, now I know how to coach them. I'm going to rewatch this video so that when I engage with them again in another family meeting, I know exactly how I'm going to approach it so that I can have them get into non-amygdala thinking and have a much better conversation with them. The other thing I want to say is that I did do what you suggested the other day in regards to saying you're sorry to someone, and I did that with there's 3 adult children. I did that with one of them, and the response was fantastic.
Oh, good. Good for you.
And what that child said was, the other 2 should hear this too. But it was very meaningful for him.
Oh.
So thank you for that.
Oh, good job. I will say there's nothing that's more healing than authenticity. And I'll say it again, and I keep saying it through all the lectures. Nothing more powerful in trauma therapy. Like us therapists, we make it all about us. Come see me at this time once a week for a 1-hour session, and you will slowly heal over time. There's a role for that, don't get me wrong, but there's no more powerful therapy medicine than I'm sorry and I forgive you. From someone who's been in a long-term messed up relationship, actually stepping out and owning their 1%. Don't expect thank yous all the time. Sometimes it's like, but actually after all that reaction goes down, that person will actually be extremely healed. And days, weeks, months, years later, it's etched into their mind. You can't take that back. That intense experience of resolution sparked an accelerated grief process. Unblocked and accelerated. It's like I wouldn't want to be the person, like back in India, and actually all places in the world, there's these wells, right? You know how wells were wells, this is actually important, so I'm just going to make a little thing on this. I'm just put it over here. So you have a well. So back in the day, what they would do is they would dig these wells. So you dig, you have a system for getting the dirt up. Usually it's steps down, some system for digging a well. And that poor sorry person who's the last one to take the last little bit of dirt out, if you're not prepared, dies. Because all of a sudden the water comes up, and if that person doesn't have a way out, then they're going to die of that. Or if there's like a dam, you have a river and then you have like a dam, and you're going to sort of take a little block out. It's not the wrong thing to do. You just remember that when it comes off, you're going to deal with a lot of force, right? A lot of, so just be ready for that. It doesn't make it wrong to do. Someone's got to do it. There's no pretty way to just, so all you got to do is be prepared, have your supports, shorten the interaction, temper your expectations. That what you're doing is you are unblocking a lot of grief by owning your 1%. That may well reciprocate that same thing for the other person. This is why in AA, as part of the steps, is making amends. Because in their wisdom, they've realized that actually having these sort of I forgive you, I'm sorry kind of conversations is intensely healing. In some cultures, actually in all cultures, uh, uh, all or nothing thinking, right? It's all your fault, I have nothing to blame. Even in those relationship dynamics, um, owning your 1% will trigger a longer term process of healing. So you may not want to stay and listen to verbal abuse for a lot. You're just there to own your 1%. So I'm not giving legal advice here. So if we consult a lawyer and all that, if there's complex matters at play, or come talk to me one-on-one. But the point is that there is no deeper healing than having those authentic conversations. I congratulate you for doing that, because that's how you eliminate and turn the drama triangle into the reverse. A compassion triangle, a beautiful sort of well of energy that you can create and co-create, right? When you relate with people, you can create a magical things, lives together, right? That can be yours. Why not you? If it's not been something you've known, if it's not been something that you've grown into, I still say, why not you? You deserve that. Your future people you touch deserve that. So, but just remember that you may not always get a great response, but that doesn't make it the wrong thing to do. You just have to temper it. So, sometimes you might just want to do a pinprick. Sometimes you might want to do like a complicated drill from the very top, and then run away, and let it kind of. Sometimes you may just want to leave it until you're ready, until you have the tools. Don't be that person who kind of drowns at the bottom. That's not a great place to be. So sometimes people early on in recovery, very early on, they're like start owning things, and what happens is in their system they just set themselves up for extreme victimization, and they have no way to get out of it, and so then it sucks. Oftentimes they're apologizing because they've become the rescuer. And that doesn't work. They're still in the amygdala thinking. They're not thinking long term. They haven't accurately assessed the situation. You can't. If you're amygdala, you can't accurately assess the situation. And so it still doesn't make it the wrong thing to do. Get out of the amygdala. That's the first thing. Spend time outside of your amygdala as much as you can throughout the day. Do the practices. Build your daily practice. Connect to self, connect to others, commit to daily practice. Find as much time outside of your survival brain as you can. And then you will have the clarity as to when these conversations are right and when they're not. So if it worked out for you, that's wonderful and beautiful. It's every situation is different. So that's a good concept that this is why I record these question and answers, because you can bring out good things. So thank you for that. Other questions? I have one online. Yes. I think you're muted. Still muted. I think you're muted still.
My spouse is going through, I guess, it seems like a process of grieving, because his ex-wife, long and the short of it, hates him, answers horribly sharply. He follows the rules and doesn't talk to the children about interactions, but mom has alienated the children to the point where the only time they call him is for money. I suggested that he tell the children small things like, try to communicate. They don't talk, they don't ask questions. And just just recently his daughter called and was with her boyfriend asking for money. She was at the mall, and all of this had built up and it blew up. And he said, you know, all your mom and you do is ask me for money and blah blah blah, and it all came out, and it made him feel even worse. It made his daughter cry. How do I help him? What do I say? Because
Yeah.
he's sad, and I have to try really hard to liven up the atmosphere at home.
Yeah. So I think that's a great question. Thank you for that. So I'll answer it in as brief as I can. So the thing is, the question really relates to complex dynamics, right? So you're kind of a person, and you're witnessing the drama play out, and unloading all at once everything someone has ever done to you. That's an example of aggression. Ugh. That's an aggression. Receiving that, and crying out for sort of a rescue. That's victim. Jumping in there and trying to sort of mediate. That's rescuer. So when you're watching it, what can you do? And the answer is when it's in the midst of it, oftentimes you gotta just let it flame out. Back away. Keep yourself calm. If you're in your amygdala, you can't. Creating space. So I have a principle. It's called like the one-time principle. I say something once, maybe twice if you're lucky. I don't say things 50 times. I don't repeat myself. I don't waste my breath. Humans are quite intelligent. If they're ready to hear something, the first or second time they'll hear it. Honey, I think, would it be okay if we just left and just created some breathing room? And if the person is like, no, that's a flame out situation. It needs to flame out. If it's flaming out to the point of like injury, that's a police situation. And once it all flames out, and it always flames out. These drama things, they always blow up. There's always some peace after. And then that's a moment where you can kind of have an assertive conversation and assess readiness to be coached. Are they interested in if there's another way? If they're not interested, just keep it inside you. Park it. If someone's an alcoholic and they're not aware of it, you keep all your AA stuff ready, but you don't give it to them. I have all sorts of tools, meditations, fancy funny things that I could teach you, but I don't teach you any of it. If you come asking and you're ready, give it to you. If you're not ready or you don't come asking, I'll hold off until you are. So the thing is that as you do recovery, it's inevitable you will become witness to drama. As you get healthier, you'll see it so clearly. So what she's asking is actually the reality of anyone who walks the road of recovery. What do you do? And the answer is always the same. You never help someone who's not ready to be helped. You assess readiness. And in the midst of all the drama, everyone's amygdala is activated. The first most important answer is deactivating the amygdala. In yourself, and if others are at all interested in that, whoever's interested. Usually, if you're witnessing a complex dynamic, one of the 4 people, 3 people, 2 people in front of you is more likely willing than the other. Because we're all in different places, right? So if there's one person that's kind of interested, just remember what I said. Any one of these people starts behaving healthier, the whole system will wind down. That's a physical reality. So if it's your husband, then creating some space, assessing, and we'll have some additional videos in the next little bit on more about coaching. There's lots to coaching, there's lots to that, but today's not about that. Today's about awareness of drama, because you're all in it. And so awareness about the drama is all about awareness of when you're amygdalar. So we cover that in IOP. We'll have lectures on that too, I'm sure. And so then that sensory awareness, taking yourself out, will create options, and those options will help you solve a complex problem. So I'm not here to sort of get into the nitty-gritty detail of anyone's one issue, because honestly, there's not enough time today for me to actually get into that. But this is something we do. We hook someone, and we want them to respond, but we constrain them. We say, okay, just in these last minute before you have to go, can you solve this complex problem for me? And no one can. What can you understand about someone in 1 minute? But we do this. It's actually so common. I'm not saying you're doing this, but it's so common. It's called hostage taking. We don't want to. We want to just kind of throw a grenade, and then we want to just kind of leave. That's hostage. That's a form of aggression. An aggressive comment just before you have, at the end of the car ride, is. So I don't have the time to necessarily fully understand. So all I can offer is principles.
Is it okay to distract in a healthy manner? Like, let's go for a walk.
Once or twice. And if they're not receptive, this is the thing. When you go more than once or twice, you become amygdala. Why aren't they listening? Not respecting me. Okay, now you're involved in it. Now you're going to feed into it. So that's why I say once or twice. Because if someone ignores you more than once or twice, who likes to be ignored? That usually triggers childhood stuff of not being seen, not being heard. That's usually what triggers it. So it's totally okay, but but don't believe me. Don't believe anything I say. Test it and see. And if it works, then you have your answer. If it doesn't, let me know, because then I'll revise my theory or figure it out so he can help me. Good question. Any other questions? Comments? Yes?
You actually answered my question about the drama of somebody attacking you, and I just turn and walk away, or hang up the phone, or whatever, because I don't want that drama, because it gets aggressive.
That's perfect. You have to have space. You have to have calm. And if the relationship, and there's it's not like amygdala is on or off, frontal cortex on or off. It's shades. Your amygdala is 5% off, on. Your frontal cortex 5% off, 95% of what it should be. It's shades, and those shades are so if it gets really, really extreme, and it's like F you and this and that, zero benefit to anything, hang up, walk away. That person is so activated, they're the bomb, and anyone who stays near a bomb when it blows is going to get hurt. But oftentimes, so this is the 1%, oftentimes no one just blows. It usually works its way up to that. And that's the reflection. As you get calm, you can kind of say, okay, what could I do differently in this interaction so it doesn't get so heated that it has to end up in a cut-off. Oftentimes, it's us pursuing relationships with an unrealistic expectation of what's going to be covered. What can we talk about? Some people in life usually can just talk about the weather. Go any deeper than the weather and it's just like flames, but it's good. Talk about the weather then. But if you try to go deeper than what someone's ready for, that's oftentimes the hidden 1% of yours. And so we really want to blame other people. But the trouble is, it's not that we're wrong in that. Someone punches you in the face, no, there's a lot wrong with that. But what's going to move you forward is finding wherever hidden that little bit of unawareness that led and contributed to this blow up. That's going to move you forward because you're on your own journey. Everyone else is on theirs. No one journeys together, folks. Everyone's on their own journey. Even if you're married, you're on your own journey. When you try to journey for the other person, you're getting into drama. Because they journey how they're going to journey. They journey in their way, what they're neurologically, biologically, socially, psychologically suited to, spiritually. And so you're on your own journey. And so owning your 1% and finding it. If something blew up, I know if someone in my office blows up at me, I always have a 1% of that. Because that's not good. It's better that we not have that happen. And so I think, okay, yeah, you know what, I could have done this. And maybe it's not much, but it's something. And I don't think of it so that I can go grovel to that person. I'm so sorry I did. It's for self-improvement. It's for self-moving. And that's what we have to do. So it's a great comment. Thank you. Any other question? That's a closed-ended question because I'm ready to tie this up. I'll take one last question if there is one. It's okay if there's not. Oh, I'm so glad I got to talk about the well. So thank you for that. That's I got to talk about a lot of extra things. So I like this format. Lecture and then have question and answer to round it up. This is brilliant. Thank you all for letting us record. Thank you all for listening, and we will be at it again next week.